Hello everybody and welcome at our GCP Mindset channel. Today we speak about the electronic investigator site file and I have my expert Benjamin with me.
Thank you, Andreas. I look forward to this discussion.
Yeah, me too. Thanks. Hi Benjamin and thank you for being here. I can remember 18 months ago we talked already about the electronic trial master file and today we want to speak more about the electronic investigator site file. But you are an expert for electronic document management. Could you start first with yourself? What motivates you for this topic?
Of course. Thank you, Andreas. Well, I see it that way. At the center of all of our efforts should always be a smooth study conduct and of course consequently a successful study outcome. And how do we do that in terms of document management? By ensuring integrity, quality and regulatory compliance of our data and of course of our documents. In modern document management systems, such a status quo can actually be maintained. Through experience and development of our processes and systems, it became apparent that a document management system is not a simple and passive deposit. In fact, it can actually actively help you to maintain study control and study oversight and actually actively add value to the study outcome. So if that wouldn't be the case, we could still use a paper TMF in fact. So using an eTMF but also an eISF, the whole operational team benefits from it, which of course in fact increases our efficiency and effectivity throughout the entire study conduct.
Thanks, Benjamin. That's a very good reason, of course, and it's a lot of responsibility of you and your team in terms of document management, and it's really meaningful, and that, of course, motivates people. But what is now with the eISF, so the electronic investigator site file? How does it fit into the picture?
Yeah. Such as the TMF, also the ISF is an integral part of our study conduct actually. And from a regulatory point of view, the ISF is actually called Investigator TMF and is equally part of the overall TMF, which also means that an ISF needs to allow reconstruction of the study conduct and evaluation of data integrity, quality and GCP compliance. And for that reason, I personally see no reason why we shouldn't use electronic means which could actually also help us to ensure this compliance towards GCP and integrity and quality that I mentioned. Yeah, and in fact, this could also improve the outcome of our study.
Okay, I understand that the importance is even higher because you have not only one file, like with the TMF, where you have one central file, but many files. For every investigator, you have one investigator site file, which can be up to 100 or even more. But when you speak about improved quality, what do you mean with improved quality? What is the improvement compared to paper investigator site files?
Yeah, the improvements are actually manifold. Not only the study site benefits from the electronic investigator site file in similar formats, also the entire study team and operational team can actually benefit from such a system. Due to a central access, also the sponsor, for example, gains oversight of site-specific documents without having to go to the study site. Also the entire operational team, such as the CIA, PM, they also have access to the documents, improving remote monitoring, for example. So there are many more synergies which an eISF actually adds to the study conduct. But from experience, I can tell what the study site likes most is actually also the less archiving costs that they have with an electronic eISF. So instead of archiving 5 to 6 paper folders, it's just one small electronic device that they actually have to archive for 25 years, for example, if we take our EU regulation for clinical trials.
Okay, sounds good. What I tell the investigators always when we are giving investigator trainings is that the investigator side file, it's called investigator side file because the responsibility lays at the investigator. So how does it fit together now? What's the role of your team actually in terms of eISF maintenance?
Well, actually, I couldn't agree more. Of course, the main responsibility for the maintenance and control of an eISF lies at the study site. The PI, of course, has the total control over its content and the data and documents. Nevertheless, of course, as a sponsor or as a CRO, my team, you mentioned it, we can of course also support the study site. And this again can be in different terms. For example, that as a TMF manager, I could actually file the sponsor specific documents into an eISF. This is actually also provided in the latest EMA guideline on TMF management, where this is also mentioned. And in such a way, also the CRA or the sponsor itself can also support the study site maintaining the eISF. Why? Because in fact, the study site can then focus also more on other tasks, which are actually even more important and should be prioritized for a successful study conduct. For example, patient rights and things like that.
What I can also see is the cost-saving potential of electronic systems. When I see the CRAs, for example, save a lot of time for checking the investigator site file on site, they can focus much more on the primary endpoint or safety data, source data verification. So I consider this as more important to do it at the site, whereas document management can be done centrally. The same for keeping oversight by the project management, or the regulatory people get also support by software. So there are so much ways of save money and decrease the budget by using an electronic investigator site file, especially for big studies. Do you agree?
I totally agree. As I said, the synergies are manifold and provide a lot of potential.
Okay, we completely agree that we see a lot of synergy and cost-saving potentials, but according to my experience, inspectors are not really interested in these factors, but they want to see regulatory compliance. And that, of course, most of the sponsors also like to see. Do we really can ensure that an electronic investigator site file complies with, for example, the EMA reflection paper?
Totally. Actually, in the latest EMA TMF guideline, it is mentioned that an eISF can be composed of different formats. That includes an electronic format, hybrid, or our traditional format, the paper format. When we use an electronic format, so an electronic investigator site file, it is important to meet certain requirements. On the one hand, these are technical standards like an audit trail, role-based permissions to the system, and things like that. On the other hand, of course, also confidentiality of the patient data that is, of course, also maintained in such systems, and we need to ensure data privacy and data security, actually. Moreover, the investigator is responsible for the suitability of the eISF. In cases where an eISF is provided by a third party, this should also be governed by a contractual agreement between the study site and the vendor, of course. So having said all of this, actually an eISF, as you can see, actually also fulfills all regulatory requirements and is also not averse any recommendations by the EMA.
Okay, and that's what you and your team actually are also doing, serving as a vendor just for eISF maintenance?
Correct.
Okay.
This is our daily job, part of our daily job.
Interesting. Let's come to the revision 2 GCP requirement, which demands or requires more PI oversight. Does an electronic investigator site file also support the PI in terms of keeping oversight?
Yes, this is ensured through the user rights in the system, allowing full control and access to the eISF, of course. This includes uploading of documents, deleting, moving, so all necessary document management tools. And moreover, this is also ensured via an extensive user training if we have a scenario where a third party is used, for example, our Investigator site file. And we already mentioned also the electronic features that such a system brings along. Of course, the Investigator can access documents more easily, quicker retrieval of documents, some more information about the metadata of certain documents. For example, the audit trail can be accessed. But having all these electronic features at place, still the outcome and quality of the eISF is also depending on the investigator itself. Of course, we can have the best system, but if we're honest, from experience, such systems only work if they're actively maintained by the user. And in this case, of course, it's the investigator. So we do everything that we can. We provide such a system with its features, but in the end, it's still up to the investigator and his responsibility to use the system to ensure his oversight according to ICH GCP.
Yeah, I mean, that's identical to the electronic CRF. You can have the best system, but when the study sites don't like it, then it's always a bad system. Yeah. And what's the feedback you hear about the investigator site file? Do they like it?
Well, actually, they like it. I mean, first of all, it's like with every new system, they first need to get used to a new system. So I would say in the beginning, maybe they're a bit averse to the system, but eventually the investigators and the whole site staff actually gain good experience with the system, and they see that the electronic features actually also help them to maintain a good quality of the eISF. So I would say it's a learning process from both sides, also from our side, how to optimize the system for the study side, but also on the other side, also the site staff itself needs to get used to a new system, similar to the eCRF when it replaced the paper CRF. So I would say we are still in a transition phase with the eTMF. Now it's a common tool, and I'm more than certain that also the eISF will be commonly used throughout the clinical research field. It just needs time to get used to such a new way of handling documents in this case.
Yeah, and you said already the big advantage is also the archiving on a hard drive, for example. I mean,
definitely.
Will they see very late at the study end when you hand over, that's your drive, please archive it instead of all the folders. Benjamin, you just said that currently you are in the transition period. And I think it's really difficult to change from an old system to a new system, even in smaller organizations. But you are working with so many study sites from different regions with different cultures, and they all have different experience with electronic systems. How do you want to speed up the process?
Well, in fact, this is done via communication. It all starts with a dialogue to facilitate transition and implementation of such systems. And we need to highlight the benefits and advantages of our electronic investigator site file. And of course, in such a dialogue and communication, we also receive site feedback, which then our team again translates into the continuous development of our electronic systems. So in the end, it all comes down to continuous development and communication.
Okay, it sounds like you want to make everybody happy with your team. The CRO team, the monitors, the sponsor, and of course the PI should be happy by using an electronic site file. But I think the hardest is to make auditors and inspectors happy with your system. What's your experience with auditors and inspectors in terms of eISF?
Well, we were talking about transition, and the inspectors and auditors are no exemption. They also have to get used to the new system, and also the inspectors and auditors are in the middle of a transition phase. But from a regulatory point of view, an eISF, as I said in the beginning, is not problematic. Also in the EMA guideline and in reflection papers, we can actually see that a trend towards the eISF is inevitable, as they are mentioned everywhere, and as also mentioned that an electronic format of an ISF is also valid. So, yeah, to make it short, in my opinion, in 5 years we will not talk about this issue anymore. For inspectors and auditors, an eISF will be normal business.
Yeah, and I mean, there are also people with different levels of experience. Some like electronic systems, others hate electronic systems.
Yeah.
And during an audit, you need also to make these people happy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's about communication. Also, the similar applies also to auditors and inspectors. If they inspect an eISF, of course, we also play our role in that scenario. It comes down to proper training of inspectors and auditors as well, just to take the fear of such systems.
Thank you very much, Benjamin, for being here. It was really interesting to speak with you about the Investigator side file and electronic filing. Very interesting, very enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think I need to agree with you. In 5 years, our topic will not be a hot topic anymore. But anyway, maybe we set a trend now with our video. I hope you liked our videos. Send us your comments, your questions, and see you the next time again. Bye-bye.
Bye.